This episode of the Falling for Learning podcast deals with the numbers, right? We have an expert here, the college cost cutter, to help you address how you're going to pay for college, right? Because we know the college costs are rising and we want to know what to do to get started early. And we're all about helping get your children and your family the competitive advantage. Stay tuned, like, subscribe as we get into it. Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success. So LaTonja Muhammad is a certified college funding specialist and education loan analyst. So Ms. Muhammad holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Tuskegee University and has worked in the aircraft and automotive industries for almost 30 years. Throughout her career, time was always allocated for community service. She has served on the boards of directors for the Cass Tech Alumni Association and Black United Fund of Michigan in leadership roles. Ms. Muhammad is a proud and thankful mother of two sons. Sultan is a graduate of Howard University and is currently working and living in New York. Tariq is a graduate of Harvard University and Columbia University. Throughout her son's young lives, she was a very active and involved parent. It is this combination of dedication to her children's success and community service that led her into the college financial planning arena in 2016, ultimately obtaining the necessary credentials to help other families navigate through the complicated and often misunderstood college admissions and financial aid processes. So everyone, please welcome LaTonja Muhammad. We're so glad to have you here today. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I'm doing well. I'm enjoying my holidays with family while also getting a little work done, but all is well. Thank you. How are you?
Good, awesome, doing great. Had some extra rest now because I'm on break and I'm not juggling all the things that I'm doing in addition to my podcast and earning a living, obviously. So that's awesome. We really are so excited to talk to you. So many of my parent friends and parents that are part of the community really want to know about how to get our kids, their college paid for, how to make sure they're on the track. You have two college graduates, so we are definitely wanting to hear from you. So obviously your kid's success has something to do with you. And what was it, that thing as a kid or, in your, learning span that really helped you fall in love with learning?
I really don't remember when I didn't love learning. I've always loved learning. As a little girl, I loved reading and learning new things. And I remember reading all the books in my kindergarten class. I remember we used to have these learning books called the Sullivan books, where they were almost like formatted like standardized tests where you would read and then answer questions. And I remember going through all of those, like several grade levels ahead. I went through all of the Sullivan books. I just love learning and I love playing school. So I love learning. I love teaching. It's just in me. It's just been there. And, I instilled that into my sons. I was reading to them in the womb and when they were babies. And so they love to read. And, so it's just a part of who I am, that love for learning.
So another thing that I really recognize is that your commitment to service, right? Like you have all the service that you've done for the community, and like, where does that come from? And tell us more about that.
Well, it's hard to say where it comes from, but it's just when I hear about someone or see someone, if the situation moves me, if I recognize a need, I just want to help.
Mhm.
And so a lot of the projects that I've been involved with, I just really feel strongly about serving and helping, in the capacity, whatever capacity I was in, or giving back, like the Cass Tech Alumni Association, my high school alumni. I gained so much from that high school. I'm so grateful for having attended that high school. So for me, it made sense to give some years back to help the current students at the high school.
Yeah.
Organizations like the Black United Fund is an organization that at the time that I was involved on the board, we were a grant funding organization. They do a lot more programming now, but we were a grant funding organization, and I was over the committee that reviewed the applications and made recommendations for funding. So it
Okay.
was rewarding to help new startup nonprofits get their footing and then see them grow and blossom and help in the community. So I really felt like being a part of Buff helped me to support multiple organizations because we did through funding. So it's just, it just seems only right to me to give back and to support and assist those, who have a need. To whom much is given, much is required. So I believe in that, and I have tried to live that.
That's awesome. So, can you tell us now, getting into the college cost cutting, right? We've all heard of like the FAFSA. Well, many parents who are in that getting their kids ready for college, or they've had multiple kids. The could you explain what the FAFSA is and how that plays into some of what you do?
Okay, so the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and it's so important to the process. A lot of parents and students, I think they just see it as, oh, this is this document that we have to fill out, and people dread filling out the FAFSA. And
Hmm.
even though it's been simplified, this is the second year of the simplified format, people
Okay.
still find it intimidating and confusing, and people make a lot of mistakes. And
Mm.
so, but that is the form. When a family completes the FAFSA, the information that they provide will be used to calculate a number called the Student Aid Index. That number is sent to every college that the student lists on the FAFSA. The colleges are going to use that number to determine how much financial aid they will award that family. And so, if families don't know how they can influence those inputs, if they don't know that there are strategies to help them to maximize their financial aid eligibility, they'll put those numbers in. There won't be any active or conscious planning involved, and instead they will just live with the outcome. They'll just live with what the student aid index is. But families don't realize they can influence it. But it takes planning
Hold
and it
on.
takes time.
Hold on one second. So you're saying that there's something that they can do to change it, and you're here to give us that tea about some strategies that they could do so they don't just have to input. There's okay. Help us with that.
Right.
I'm so excited.
Right. So I have a workshop coming up January 12th, and I call it Financial Aid by Design, because you can actually design your financial aid package practically. And so some of the things that we'll cover is things that parents can do to lower their income reporting, lower their asset reporting. And of course everything is legal and ethical and all of that, but the information that parents put on the FAFSA is coming from their tax returns from the prior year.
Hmm.
And so it's going to take planning, advanced planning. You can't have the FAFSA in front of you and then say, "Oh, let me plan how to complete it," because the tax year is done, the filing is done,
Hmm.
and you weren't able to influence those inputs. But if you plan earlier, then definitely there are things you can do to minimize the income that you have to report and minimize the assets that you have to report. And the more broke you appear on paper, the more financial aid you'll be eligible for on the
So,
need-based aid side.
so let me just ask you. I know there's some people who, they are low income, so there's no challenge there. They're already low income. But there's some people who
Mm-hmm.
are kind of in the middle. They're not very wealthy, but they're also pretty high income earners. So
Mm-hmm.
are you able to help them, especially like those two parent households, the mother and father both work, both college graduates? Are you able to help those kind of families?
Definitely, definitely. Though those are the families that benefit most from the strategies because they have income and assets. They have
Mm,
investments. They have properties. They have, all these different things, savings, and they have income and assets to reposition, to re-strategize. So yeah, those families are can definitely benefit from
okay.
the FAFSA workshop. Yes.
Okay, so all right, so you're gonna help them. So okay, let's say so I know some people who have ninth graders. Is ninth grade too early? I know that a lot of schools in my area, they really focus in on the seniors and they help
Hmm.
them fill it out. They have a completion rate, like, out of our, 50, out of our 500 seniors, 40, 450 have filled it out or whatever. So
Hmm.
who
Same here.
what's the age that they should be starting? All over the United States, 75% of children don't know how to write well. Add that to the fact that so many people out there are trying to silence the voices of those who have been oppressed and trying to prevent them from telling their story. Who's going to tell your story? If your child doesn't know how to write well, I have two books to address this issue: The Rewrite Method and The Rewrite Method Workbook, written to make sure that parents know what to do, that educators know what to do to get their children to write better, and just not write better, but love to write. Make sure that your next generation could tell their story and they won't be silenced. Go to fallingforlearning.com today to purchase your set. Because what you're saying is, so maybe 11th grade year, or with that ninth grader's family benefit. What do you think?
I think ninth grade is an excellent time because our process is not just the what we call the financial positioning part. There's the student positioning part too. And what I see a lot of times is
Mm,
students may not start out on their best foot as freshmen. Let's
right.
say, sometimes high school is a big adjustment. And your first semester as a freshman, oh, you got a 2.7 or a 2.9.
Hmm.
And when you do the math to see, oh my goodness, what do I need to do to get up to a 3.5, 3.6? You've got to get 4.0 the rest of the time. And so you
Mm,
put yourself in this difficult deficit as a student. And
okay.
when I meet with administrators, I meet teachers and counselors, they say, "Oh, can you come and talk to my seniors?" And I say, "Well, of course I can come and talk to your seniors, but I'd rather talk to your freshmen and their parents on freshman orientation night." That is what would really be ideal because we've got a whole process that starts from freshman year that walks the student all the way through walking into the door at college. Now, most of the
Right.
time, we get families that are juniors and seniors because people
Right.
are not conditioned to think to be involved in this process earlier. We're trying to change the thinking for families to get started earlier. They'll
Okay,
save
so
they'll save so much more money if they do.
LaTonja, and like I just want to highlight this because that is just the way, right? I'm here in California, you're in the Michigan area, and I think like nationwide, this is how it's done. You
It
start your
is.
senior year. Even us saying 11th grade is not really something that's done either, right? It's
Mhm.
11th grade. I mean, it's 12th grade. And you're wanting to change all that, like to turn that paradigm, do a paradigm shift and say, our ninth graders, the families at orientation, so we're just baby ninth graders, not even the end of the year, really need to think about what they can be doing and position themselves in a way. So the kids need to position themselves, is what you're saying, as well as the
Mm-hmm.
families need to financially think about what they can move around. And
Yes.
so this is really exciting. You're going to help a lot of families. Tell us like a little bit of the work that you've already done to support families already with your workshops.
Okay, so yeah, we've done, wow, lots of workshops, and we've worked with various organizations as well. So we've gone into organizations and done workshops. We've done them with individual families. I just finished my first program in one of the Detroit public schools. Just finished that program in October, and it was an accelerated version of our student positioning program. We did it for 6 weeks, and it was for seniors. I'm going to be pushing to do this same program junior year though, because senior year is so busy. Seniors have so
Mm,
much going on. Their parents have so much going on.
right.
And I think this program would be great starting like second semester of junior year. And when they walk into senior year, they already have their list of colleges. They already know exactly what where they're going to apply. So, so we've done it with groups, organizations, individual families. I've done FAFSA workshops for groups. We just did one in Lansing a month ago, and then a couple weeks or so ago, I did one for a local group here in Detroit, that serves young ladies. And
Okay.
so yeah, so we're doing.
So tell us a little bit about the program. Like, what does it, like, how many sessions is it? Or because you were saying you want to do it second semester of 11th grade.
Mhm.
Which program are you referring to, and what's the structure of that?
So the 6 week program that we just did for the seniors that I would prefer to do for juniors,
Okay.
it begins with a very detailed career and personality assessment.
Okay.
Because what happens is over a third of students get to college and they change their major. Why did they change their major? Well, they thought they wanted to do something, but they really want to do something else. Or they got to college and realized, oh, I don't like math. Being an engineering student, I saw a lot of students transfer out of engineering. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't know just how much they did not like math or they didn't like physics, or whatever. So, but in high school, and again, this goes back to why freshman year is a great time to start. When students start to get assessed in high school, they'll even change through high school. So if a student starts getting assessed as a freshman and then there's another assessment, maybe junior year,
Mm-hmm.
they might come up with a totally different list of career interests. So nailing down their career interest, and there are other activities that go along with that, like job shadowing and career exploration.
Mm,
But when they can
okay.
narrow that down and then pick their major, it's more likely that they'll stick with it because there's been a little more research into it and a little more of finding themselves throughout the high school years. And so
Okay.
changing your major and transferring and things like that, all of those are things that delay graduation on time for college students.
Yes. All right.
So,
So I really want to pause, like, because you really sound like you have a comprehensive program, like, not
yes.
just about the financial aid, but also getting
Mhm.
them to and through college, right? And getting to pay for it at the same time, right?
Yes. And
So,
that's just the
yes.
beginning of student positioning. And then, the research, our proprietary system is so powerful. I've read reviews online. It's like the most powerful system. It helps the students to match their best fit colleges. Best fit meaning,
Mm,
okay, from my academic profile and from my family's financial profile. Based on academics, they can look at hundreds of colleges if they want, or
right.
dozens. They can see side by side where they fit, what's their probability of admission. They can look at demographics and pick out all the things that are important to them. Sometimes students get to college and they're miserable. They don't like the
Mm.
city. They don't like the size of the college. They don't like the faculty student ratio. There are so many data points that we help the
Mm.
students to identify and use to narrow down their college choices so that they build a list of colleges that are all colleges that they would want to go to and where they can thrive. So the student positioning tool is very, very powerful. When we see families, they come in, people have the same few colleges, you know, largely based on name recognition, where somebody else went, even the football team, and there are thousands of colleges that we help students to explore.
Mm.
And sometimes they realize, oh, this college that I picked, I don't even have a high probability of getting in, or I don't have a high probability of getting money. This college doesn't even award students like me a lot of money. And
Mm.
so this process uncovers so many things and helps them to find those colleges where the money is for them, because the money is not in the same place for everybody.
Ooh, okay. So you're really bringing up some great points. And
Mhm.
everybody, if you want to know more, right, you gotta, click the link in the show notes so you could really get in contact with LaTonja Muhammad, so you could really get a hold of her proprietary system to help get your kids not just to college, but through college and get it paid for at the same time. Amazing. All right. So quickly, if they want to follow you on social media or kind of get to know you a little bit more, where can they find information on you?
Okay, so our website is collegecostcutter.com. For anyone interested in the FAFSA workshop on January 12th, it's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. That website is financialaidbydesign.com. And I'll make sure I send you these too. Financial Aid by Design. And on socials, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, you can just look up College Cost Cutter. You'll find us on all three of those. College Cost Cutter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And if you just want to shoot me a message, ask a question, admin@collegecostcutter.com.
All right, that's so awesome. And then before we finish everything up, I noticed that you told us about a mistake. Can you just tell us one of the mistakes? Because you said sometimes parents make mistakes when they're filling out their FAFSA. And what is one of
Mhm.
those common mistakes that you could tell us about? Of course, there's many mistakes, but what is one main one you can tell us about?
Okay, so a common mistake when the FAFSA asks for asset information, there's like a category where it's, for your savings and checking balances, and you put those balances in there. And then there's another section where it asks about your investments
Mm.
and things like that. For some reason, a lot of families, even though the directions say do not report your primary residence as an asset, a lot of families will report the value of their primary residence,
Oh,
and it
wow.
counts against them. You've
Okay.
got this home that's got $250,000 in equity in it, and you put it on the FAFSA, and you shouldn't even put it on there. Now, if you've got investment properties, they ask about those, and you put.
Right.
But so that's a common mistake. Do not put your primary residence, the value of your primary residence, on the FAFSA because it counts
Wow.
against you.
Good grief. Okay, that is a big mistake I'm sure people make, and that really you have so much more in that student aid index. What is that what it's called? The student aid
Yes, the
index
student aid
that you have to
index.
pay now, right? Because you made this put those
It's going
five
to make
numbers,
your
six
student aid
numbers.
index higher.
Yes,
Yes.
more
You want it
contributions.
low. You want it low.
Yeah. So that is such a gem that you just dropped. I know some people are probably like thinking back, like, I know I did that. I knew that I did that for my older kid or whatever. Right. So
Mhm.
it's her workshop is, coming up January 12th. It's going to maybe even cost you money if you don't go. So you better, get on it, right? Get on it. Get that competitive advantage. Okay.
It
All
will most
right.
likely cost money. Most families overpay for college. They just do. They really
Absolutely.
do.
Well, we thank you so much, LaTonja Muhammad, and bringing to our attention your service that you provide, the College Cost Cutter program. So I know that you have your workshop. You have your find out your is it a FAFSA workshop you said, right, on January 12th? You
It
have
is.
this
It's the workshop.
right, the FAFSA workshop, then you have your 6-week program. What do you call that program?
We called it the Best Fit program.
Okay.
I'm thinking about changing the name, but that's really what it is. It helps the students identify their best fit. But we called it the Best Fit program at the school we did here.
Okay. All right. And then you also have a book, right, on this?
I do. I have a book. I have a book.
All right,
It's
let
called
us
the
know.
College Funding Playbook. College Funding Playbook: 7 Proven Methods for Funding Your Child's Education Without Breaking the Bank.
Excellent. All right. So lots of resources available. Get in contact with her, get those resources, that information, either through the book, the FAFSA workshop on January 12th, or the 6-week program can be either brought to your school, maybe a local organization. And also, I know she's working out some things that she could do with homeschool collectives as well. All
Yes,
right.
definitely.
Well, again, thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Make sure you do something today that your future adult children will thank you for. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.